Cahira, Minister, thank you. If we consider the current discussion, 37.3% of people, the population resides in what they regard as aggregate rural areas, with over 40.8% of people defined as rural. So this actually applies to a huge proportion of the population. Rural development and a strategy connected with rural development must centre and must focus on upskilling and education. It must focus on the removal of obstacles that are restrictive and problematic for rural communities to progress and be successful. Rural areas have competitive advantage in many areas. For example, you have agri-food, you have renewable energy, you have creative industries, tourism, marine. So there are many areas that rural areas actually have an advantage. And a local bottom-up approach must be key to some of the implementation of this strategy. Investment on infrastructure, on ICT and on services is key. Connectivity is key, and whether that means connectivity by the roads and the networks or whether it's connectivity with rural broadband, it's imperative that that's addressed if we're going to be serious about supporting rural communities. Government departments working together, as the rural component can often be overlooked, and it's important that that working together is not just token gestures but is really integrated and linked working together between departments. I shared with this House this morning some figures that were released last night. It was the National Farm Survey statistics from Teagasc. Average farm income was up 32%, with the average farm now declaring over €31,000 of income. The dairy is up 65%, tillage up 20%, and the sheep industry up 8%. And that seems to be impressive. That seems to be good news on face value. But it's something we need to be very careful about, because this is averages. And something that was made known to me a few months ago was that when we consider averages, if your feet are in the freezer and your head's in the oven, and in the middle your body temperature is average, you think you're okay, but you're actually dying. So we need to be very careful about how we treat averages. Subsidy accounts for 56% of this money, and if we remove that component of it, actually it doesn't look particularly good. Incomes are up, they're up significantly, but they come from a very low base. So for small family farms, for rural Ireland, actually they still are punching way below what they should do, what they should receive as to be equitable with urban and city areas. Dairy fortunes in these figures specifically are driven very much by markets, and on the back of a dairy crisis and undersupply of an industry, we have a huge increase in dairy revenues. If we actually remove the dairy component from this figure, the average comes down to about €20,000 per business. And if we could strip that down further and look at the beef industry, it's about €12,600 up to €16,000, which is actually quite embarrassing. This situation for small family farms, for rural businesses, is not sustainable. The success of this industry will be hugely linked to the success of this country. And investment is needed in R&D, it's needed in innovation, it's needed in support for education. Complacency on these statistics will be very dangerous, and we must not ease up on the pressure to invest and support R&D and education to promote and market the agri-food industry and support it in whatever way we can. Rural development must be in conjunction with and as part of the development of urban and city areas. It can't be treated as something that's separate or on its own. The strategy is one thing, and I in my other jobs and former life have been part of a number of strategies, and development and documentation of strategy is good, but key to all of this thing is implementation. And I've watched many strategies gather dust on shelves up to now and not failed hugely on the implementation phase. And for many of us today, in the discussion that we always seem to fall back to now, the default position is Brexit, and it's the elephant in the room. Minister, could I ask you, with specific reference to this strategy, what has changed, what will change, and what needs to change in this policy to make it Brexit ready and Brexit proof?